Hey everybody, today I'm working on installing my ZL1 in-tank fuel pump, also known as a low-side fuel pump. So I've already started working on the car. As you can see, I got the exhaust off, the center section, the rear section, as well as the drive shaft off. The fuel tank is still in the car, and we're going to jump into removing that now. But before we do, I'm just going to show you what the new in-tank fuel pump looks like so we know what to expect when we're taking it all apart. So this is the new ZL1 in-tank fuel pump that I got from Rock Auto. Once we get the tank off the car and we start pulling out the assembly, we'll notice that we got this connection here that will need to be disconnected. There's another one down here. And then also this one looks like it's missing the fuel level sensor. It's like that little float that usually sticks off the side. So we'll have to make sure we're careful with our existing one so that we could swap it over. All right, so we're under the car and you can see the drive shaft is out. One thing just wanted to make you guys aware of is that on both sides of where the drive shaft was, I did mark one tab with a little bit of red spray paint, so I'd be able to line the drive shaft back up exactly the way it came out, so I don't have to worry about any issues with balancing. I also did that in the rear. I think it's on the top right one. You could see a little faint red on the front. So yeah, that's marked. See that there's a strap that runs front to rear, right, with one bolt in the back. As the strap goes up towards the front, there's another bolt there. Same thing on the passenger side, but also in the center, you got one bolt right there in the center. Now, as far as hose connections, looks like there's two connectors here, right, and then they run up towards the top of the tank. So I'm not sure exactly which these are here, but I will disconnect those just to disconnect the fill hose, these two connectors, and then we'll do the two connectors that I showed you up near the front of the tank. Don't forget to loosen up these lines. Just like that. You can pull. Okay, we'll start with the first strap bolt. So both straps have been unbolted from the fuel tank and removed. That front center bolt that was by itself is removed. And when I pull down on the tank, it's still getting hung up. It feels like it's on this this control arm of this bracket here. So I'm gonna try loosening this up first to see if you know, giving it a little play will help the tank slide out, or if I need to fully remove it. Those bolts, the front two bolts in that bracket removed. This back one is just loosened. Oh, and there we go. The fuel tank is now falling on me, which is good news, I suppose. So one thing I noticed is that if you lower the tank and you move over to the driver's side of the car, that connector that's on top of the fuel pump, which is on the passenger side, is kind of difficult to get to. Looks like that line runs all the way across the tank, may even be attached to the tank. So yeah, it actually plugs in right here. So we'll disconnect it from there, and I think that should make the tank free, and we should be able to wiggle it out. So here she is. The Camaro SS, 2016 Camaro SS, stock fuel tank, not modified, so it's got the stock pump in there. We're going to grab this pump out of here and put that ZL1 fuel pump in. Not expecting that. So we got two hoses off. There's a third one in here. Yeah, this one, the one that makes a little T. Alright, so I think that was it. Alright, so I was able to wrestle the pump out. There were 3 connectors. This guy here was a black connector with 2 green buttons. Squeeze those 2 buttons, pulls right off. This connector in the back was the same. Black connector, 2 green buttons, squeeze the buttons, pull it off. But on the far side, this has a larger connector on it. It's got 2 tabs that hook behind the little rim there, and basically what I did, I just used a screwdriver to fold the tabs back slightly and just put them under that lip, and then once I put both tabs on each side under the lip, I was able to just pull that hose right off. Alright, let's head to the top. Okay, there we go. Right, so this is the float. Tells us the fuel, tells the car the fuel level on the gauge on the dash. I need to reuse that. And then this little housing that it was in. Let's see how we can. Yeah, we'll get rid of this green gasket for the pump lid. New pump came with the new gasket. Alright, so now pull that out. Oh, wait a minute. Just gotta get the tension off of these wires that run to it. Okay. All right. To give us our level. So I unplugged the connector, turn this guy around. So it's snapped in. Then the white wire was under this little hook down here. Right, so we'll put that back. The blue was under a different hook. Down along this side. So the blue was down on this side under this hook. Right, so we got it back, and then they wrapped it around the red and black wires a couple of times, but it looks like I don't have much slack wrapping. Just get her plugged in. Snap. With that nice little snap, so she's in. Just to get that float back on. Right. So it kind of just. Let me see. Okay. When you look down inside the housing, you'll see a little slot for this piece before you hook it over the top and then into the side. Right, so I'm going to feed it down, try to get into that little slot. Yeah, and then it just snapped in. Right. So now it's ready to go back inside the tank. What we'll do is we'll plug in all those connectors, right? Well, not all those, 3. We'll plug in the 3 connectors. We got 1. We got the black one down here. It's 2. And then the one underneath is going to be 3. So we'll get that in. You should get a click. Click. Now I'm missing this one here. This one's going to click. It might be 2 clicks. Bend. Boom. I clicked. Alright, so we got all 3 of those hoses connected again. And before we set it down, I'm going to put our new gasket inside here.
This way.
Yeah. Alright, so now the new gasket's sitting in. Now we'll set the pump back down where it belongs, right there. We'll give a few taps. So one thing I noticed is this green line here. So I'm assuming if I put this all back the same way, that the 2 green lines should match up, or at least come close when it comes to sealing up the top of the fuel tank, fuel pump rather. All right, so I think I got it where it should be. And now I'll plug in the connector and the 2 lines. All right, so now we are ready to get the tank back in the car. So I got the fuel tank loosely in place again. I wedged it up there and then put the other, that control arm, that bracket that was on the other side. I was holding it up when I was taking it out, put that back in with the bolt, kind of just hold it in place. So there's no straps on or anything like that. But I did connect all the lines that go to the tank, and before I put the straps on and you know, put all these hoses and everything back, the exhaust and drive shaft, I just want to turn it on, make sure there's no leaks. You know, if it looks good, maybe I'll just fire it up real quick just to see if there's no leaks, you know, under the car from any of those fittings or anything like that. Make sure that everything works, so that in the event that something is not right, you know, I don't have to basically redo the whole job again. You know, I just have to drop the tank, which will take 2 seconds with that one bolt on that side over there. just button everything back up. You know, fuel tank straps, drive shaft, exhaust, you know, mid pipe, rear section. Take it off the stands and it's good to go. So I managed to get the tank back in with the straps on, so it's all bolted up, secured. The fill hose, tighten that up with that hose clamp. That other bracket that on the other side, I took those 2 bolts out, put that back in. Next we will put the drive shaft back in. So the drive shaft is back in. I secured these lines here to the heat shield on the drive shaft. There's that middle bracket, secured that. Followed by another heat shield, 6 bolts. Also holds these lines on the side. And then got the drive shaft connected back in the front again and made sure to line up the red marks that I made on it when I took it apart, so it's all lined up exactly the way it came off. And next we'll be putting the exhaust back on, the midsection, and then the rear suitcase muffler, and we'll be wrapping it up. All right, so I got my exhaust all bolted back up. This car has long tube headers and the mid pipe from Texas Speed Performance. They've been on here, and it's got the stock rear section you can see back here, but I got everything bolted back up, so we're good to go. Yep, so you know, she fired up, so everything seems like it's okay. You know, you might be wondering why we're going through all the effort of putting in the ZL1 fuel pump, so that we could continue to run E85 after we put the Z06 supercharger on it. So I actually have the supercharger up here. Just needs to get the snout modified so that it'll run on the Camaro. I got the ZL1 pulley, the crank pulley, the valley covers here. The heat exchanger is already mounted in the bumper here, and I just left the hoses, you know, just tied off to the side, so that's ready to go. Last things I need, I think, are like the adapter plates, gaskets, and like I said, modify the snout on here, and it'll be ready to bolt up. I do have the high pressure fuel pump as well, and we will be putting the LT4 injectors in, so that we'll have the full ZL1 fuel set up, so that we can run E85, you know, get all the boost, all the timing, and make some good power.